We're live here from McCoy Stadium, home of the Pawtucket Red Sox for the next 2 seasons. I'm Tanner. This is Evan. This up here is our friend Ben Mondor. We're on Mondor Way here, live from McCoy. How you feeling, Evan? A little chilly?
A little chilly. It always feels like that we do these video broadcasts on the windiest day possible. And as you may know, it is the windiest day possible today.
I typically will look at the schedule for the next week in terms of weather, and I'll look for the windiest day. And today happened to be that day, so like this is the day we're going to do the show here from McCoy. This is our first show of the year live with our friend Ben Mondor on Mondor Way here in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. It is cold, so we're going to try to keep this a little tight. I'm holding the tripod, which holds our camera, because if I let go of this thing, it's going to just blow away, which we've already seen as an example.
Yes.
You know, there's some sketchy people driving around right now. I'm not sure what they're doing here. There's nothing going on in the stadium, so this is kind of odd, but that's okay, right, Evan? So we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about the PawSox roster. Evan?
Yes.
Kick it off.
Yes, with this, as we're getting closer to the end of spring training, we're starting to get a little bit of an idea of who's actually going to be in the roster, who's not going to be in the roster, who may have a chance to get a shot with Boston, who may not. So we're going to just go through the roster basically to see who's really going to be on it. So right now, for the outfielder, we're only looking at 4 guys that are going to be on the who are projected to be on the roster right now. Bryce Brent, he signed a contract with the Red Sox organization this past offseason after he spent last year with the Pirates for like a week, and then he spent majority of the year with the New York Mets organization. So you may remember him from 2 years ago. Hit 31 home runs.
Oh, every Red Sox fan remembers Bryce Brent. We don't need to go into a history lesson.
I mean, you kind of
know.
You have to, because he was the leading home run hitter for the in the Red Sox organization that year.
I'll tell you what, if you're within a 30-minute drive of McCoy Stadium this year, Bryce Brent's on the roster, come down, buy a ticket. Bryce Brent is worth the price of admission, because you know what? He can hit the long ball, and that's something I felt like this PawSox team missed last year. We had Jeremy Barfield coming into last season. We're like, oh, maybe Barfield can hit. Barfield couldn't hit. I could play a better outfield than Jeremy Barfield. It was that bad. And throughout the entire season, Rusney Castillo was the best hitter, sure. Castillo is a 300 hitter, hits for contact. They missed the long ball last year.
Right, yeah,
so bringing Bryce Brent back into this team, not only does it provide major league depth, it provides some pop here in Pawtucket.
No, you're absolutely right, because, I mean, like you said with Jeremy Barfield last year, that's who we all projected to be the guy to basically replace Bryce Brent here for the PawSox. Unfortunately, he couldn't make contact with the ball. When he could, he hit it a mile, but he couldn't. And very, very quickly, it came to the realization that he was just not going to work out here, and he was only here for about a month. In fact, I thought he was going to be the leading home run hitter in the Red Sox organization last year. Probably the coldest thing I've ever had in my life. But
it's almost as cold as this day, Evan.
Yes, but continuing with your point with Rusney Castillo, him being a 300 hitter, but yeah, he's not the home run hitter that we originally thought on the Red Sox.
And that's a good thing, though. That is actually a very good thing.
You're absolutely right.
He's a smarter hitter now.
Right. He's singles up the middle, hits 300, but he doesn't hit for power. He can, but he just doesn't hit for power anymore. Third guy, Jorge Hernandez. You may know him from being with the San Francisco Giants for forever. Last year with the Giants, he hit 234 in 142 games. Really perfect guy to have for major league depth if somebody gets hurt. I don't envision him getting called up, but he is available for, if someone needs to get called up.
Right, and that's kind of the situation they have here in this whole organization, I feel like, at least. There's not a ton of prospects, and the ones you do have are sort of in the lower levels. And in terms of outfield prospects, they're not exactly loaded with depth. So when you look at what do you have to do to ensure your major league team is ready if an injury comes up, you have to sign guys like Hernandez. You have to get guys like Bryce Brent back. So that's just part of their critical analysis of, hey, we don't have a ton of prospects, so we need some guys who can be ready to be called up.
Right, and that's exactly what he feels, is that, say Andrew Benintendi gets hurt, he's on the DL, you have nobody to actually replace him in the outfield. You can bring up him to be able to fill up a platoon role if, to try to work things out. The next guy is Cole Sturgeon. He was here last year. Pretty good player. Not a major league player, but he's a good player.
Cole Sturgeon, I believe he hit like something like 400 with Portland. to start last season. Got called up to Pawtucket. I feel like he never really put it.
365 with Portland last year. He had 214 with the PawSox.
Never really put it together. There were some injuries though that kind of nagged him that weren't exactly too public. I know Kevin Bowles was always, Cole Sturgeon's been banged up, and I feel like he was banged up for most of last year. There were some points where he got sent back down to Portland and then came back up to Pawtucket. So, Cole Sturgeon's a guy just to watch out for here. But you're right. I don't think Cole exactly projects to be a major league caliber player. But you never know, right?
Nice player. Right, that's about it. Going in the infield, there's obviously going to be more than just these three names that I'm going to go through. But Michael Chavis, #1 prospect in the Red Sox organization right now.
Debatable, but I would actually say that Dahlback's the #1 prospect, but I think Chavis is top 5.
He can hit. Really good.
He can also shoot some stuff up, but
he can hit. Finding him a position is going to be the difficult part, but
sure,
he can hit. He's been playing a lot of third base.
Can't really play third base, but he plays third base.
Right. So
that's kind of the thing with the Red Sox, right? They love to find third basemen that can't actually play third base.
Right. I'm comparing him to Rafael Devers when he first got called up to Boston. When he got called up to Boston, he was a prospect who could hit really well. Unfortunately, in 2017, when Devers first got called up, during a short time here at the AAA, Devers actually had a lower fielding percentage than Pavel Sandoval did for the Red Sox that year. So, granted, it was a small sample size, but he's not very good defensively, and neither is Devers. So, neither is Chavis. So,
I think if you're looking at third base prospects in the organization, it's Dahlback. Dahlback's the next guy. Obviously, Devers is your horse right now, and I think they expect a lot of things out of Rafael Devers. But if you're the team, you look at him and you say, "Hey, man, this is it. You got to step up. You got to perform here." Because if not, you got to look at a guy like Dahlback and kind of say, like, if Dahlback starts to move up here, all right, what do you do, right?
You're absolutely right, and you've been starting to see it a lot this spring, where they've been trying to test out Chavis at different positions, like first and second base. It's been all right. I haven't seen a ton of spring training so far this year, but from what I've seen of him, he's been okay. But it's a learning curve, especially at first base.
Right.
Next guy, Josh Akame, first base prospect. He's not the greatest contact hitter, but he does have strong power to his pull side, which Kevin Bowles did talk about a lot last year. He can hit the long ball, which is something that you really, really saw a lot when he first got called up here to Pawtucket last year.
Yeah, and I guess if you look at Boston from a first base perspective, they're kind of open at it. Long term, there's a big question at first for Boston, so I guess any kind of perception that you can play like Akame potentially long term or first base, or even moving Dahlback or Chavis to first, I think long term the organization needs a solution there, and that might be it.
Right. You also have Tony Renda, middle infielder. He got called up last year to Boston for a couple of days. He was only played one play, which was known throughout the entire season as the play that really made everyone feel like there's something special with this team. As you know, it was the 4th game of that 4-game sweep of the Yankees last year at Fenway Park, where on Sunday night, the Red Sox scored 3 times in the 9th inning off of Chapman to tie the game, and then ended up winning in the 10th inning. That's a perfect example of a thing that he can do if he gets called up.
That's what Tony Renda is. He really is a backup infielder, especially for Boston if they're sort of looking for someone to call up last minute, potentially fill an injury slot, or someone where you can call them up and not really care that they might go to waivers. So that's kind of what Tony Renda fits, I think.
Right. You obviously also have Sam Travis, who's probably going to be here this year.
Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately, yes. First base prospect, don't really know what he is. He can also they've also started testing him out in left field. He's been fine out in left field.
Every play I've seen from Sam Travis in left field is okay. He doesn't he doesn't get exposed terribly much. He might be too aggressive at times, but it doesn't really bite him as much. There's some plays where you notice, hey, maybe a natural born left fielder might have it, but I thought he was fine. I don't know if it translates to the majors, but I think we saw Blake Swihart a couple years back in left field at the major league level, and he was fine at it too. So I think that position's fairly easy to translate if you're a decent athlete.
Right. the Red Sox also re-signed Mike Miller this offseason.
Miller time, baby.
You're going to see a lot of Miller time this year at McCoy Stadium, second, third base. He actually, something that a lot of people really didn't realize
He
last
can
year,
pitch. I mean, that's something
he is the PawSox backup pitcher, but on top of that, he was all in the second half last year. I don't know the exact numbers, but he hit somewhere around like 400 the last, I think it was like 60 games.
And he's a good guy for the community. He does a lot in the community here in Pawtucket, Mike Miller does. And he's a locker room guy, too. And for a minor league team that doesn't have a lot of consistency, new manager here, a lot of turnover on the roster, which is fairly common in the minor leagues. I think having Mike Miller in that locker room sort of speaks a lot to his character and sort of the leadership quality he can bring to the field. Right. And he does have Major League experience, very limited, though.
Right. For the catchers, you have Oscar Hernandez. So he was one of the PawSox catchers here last year. Typical minor league catcher.
Did start last year, suspended 50 games due to violating the drug policy. Michael Chavis also was suspended, violating for the same policy as well last year. So Oscar Hernandez has a hell of an arm, made a couple plays. I know the coaching staff was impressed with him, but I think the other catcher in Pawtucket is going to be the one that, if they do trade San Leon, the next guy up on the train, because we don't have Dan Butler down here anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, so that catcher is Juan Satano. Last year, he did play for the Texas Rangers for 10 games, hit 162.
He does have
Major League experience.
But he has more than just that for Major League experience. I believe he has over 100 games at the Major League level. He's an okay catcher, and they're looking to trade San Leon reportedly. So Santana was probably the guy that'd be the first guy up over Oscar Hernandez.
Right, in 111 Major League games, he has 326 at bats, and he has a 227 average.
Yep.
So typical 4A catcher. Now going to your pitching staff, you have Matthew Grost. Saw him little last year. I really don't remember a ton about him.
He was one of those late call-ups from Portland, and a lot of this bullpen is. I mean, at the end of every season down here in AAA Pawtucket, you'll see sort of the top echelon of the AA bullpen get pushed up. And that's sort of what you saw here. I know last year we had guys like Ty Buttrey make that step up, and now Ty Buttrey is a Major League pitcher for the LA Angels. So
yeah, so especially after the trade for Ian Kinsler, the PawSox lost two key parts of their bullpen. So you did see that. You're right. You did see a lot of that last year. We saw head guys come and get pushed up from AA.
Yep.
Trevor Kelly, same thing. Travis Lakins, this is actually a really interesting guy. He does have late inning stuff and could be a guy you could see later on this season in Boston.
Yeah, that's what everyone's saying about him. I saw him a couple games, and I was impressed with him.
Yeah, I was.
He has some late movement, definitely back end of the bullpen down here, and maybe he'll get a shot to be the closer, but we'll sort of see.
Yes. You also have, obviously, Austin Maddox coming back from
He's another interesting guy.
Yeah, he last year he had one game for the PawSox last year. He was in 5 games for the PawSox last year before they shut him down after he was coming back from his injury. He had a 24.5 ERA.
That's meaningless.
It is meaningless.
He was coming back from an injury, got shut down.
Right, he should never have pitched last year. The point is, they brought him back way too early. But he is an interesting guy because if he is able to rebound, he is a guy that you could see in Boston.
And the organization,
so many
and they've stayed committed to him, which means it bodes confidence in him and what he's capable of doing. And I think Maddox is the same pitcher we saw a couple years ago. He could be in that bullpen for Boston, especially the fact that Boston hasn't really filled any of the holes at that Major League level.
Right. You also have January Mejia, who is the guy that the Red Sox signed that was betting with the New York Mets. He was actually originally banned from baseball for failing too many drug tests.
Yes.
He's actually been pretty interesting.
Quite a lot of that down here, but
we have actually.
We got a full roster of guys who failed a drug test.
Yeah.
Not really, but there's multiple guys, and it is sort of interesting that they brought a guy that. This signing kind of shocked me, I thought.
Yeah, especially it was so early in the offseason, and there was still a lot of names out there. Like a guy I really like was Tony Sipp, who signed with the Washington Nationals for only $1.5 million. Like that would have been a perfect guy for the Red Sox to sign.
I just don't get, from a publicity standpoint, I didn't get the signing. Granted, they must have seen something that they really liked out of him, but ton of potential, I guess. But one misstep. I mean, this is a guy who's had a history of missteps, so we'll sort of see what he pans out to be here. But I was confused by it.
Yeah, you also have Bobby Pointer. We all know what the deal with him is.
He was on the shuttle last year, probably be on the shuttle again this year.
Right. One out reliever, but we can't even
Truly is like a one-out guy. He really is a specialist.
Yeah, unfortunately, that really doesn't mean it's pretty meaningless now.
Right. Yep, exactly. So it's going to be interesting to see if Pointer makes that jump to being able to pitch a full inning effectively, and I think he can, though. He does have the stuff. So.
Yeah. Next guy is Zach Putnam. He was actually didn't pitch last year, but before that, he was with the Chicago White Sox organization. He actually has a pretty good career at the major league level. In 145 major league games, he has a 3.20 ERA.
Pretty good.
That's actually a rookie name that's really been under the radar. Could be, maybe a Ryan Brazier situation.
I think when you run into Matt Barnes being your closer, I think you got to look at everything, right?
Yes. You also have Erasmo Ramirez, was with pitched parts of last year with Seattle. Don't really know much about him. You have Mike Schwarney. I can never pronounce his. Schwarney.
He's a guy to watch down here too.
He is a guy to watch down here. He may be the first starter that would be up if the situation does get the situation does occur where the Red Sox need a spot starter.
Right.
You also have Chandler Shepard. He's 1A.
Yeah, Chandler Shepard. I mean, last year, if you want to look at an underrated storyline, I don't know how you could not look at Chandler Shepard. He came into the year as a reliever, hadn't really made starts. When he had made starts, it was in his first couple years of his career, and he took some time to really build up that stamina. But towards the end of the year, Chandler Shepard was the best starter in this PawSox rotation.
Oh, he absolutely
He took strides last year.
Yeah, he absolutely was. The reason why they made him a starter from a reliever, he did have those 4 pitches, and you really don't need that as a reliever. So they decided to make him a starter, and
and the question was, were those 4? Did he have a good enough pitch out of those 4 pitches for it to be, translating through multiple cycles?
Right. Next guy he's going to be start the year on the DL, but Carson Smith. You may know him for throwing out his shoulder for getting angry at the year for home runs to the Oakland Athletics last year in Boston.
Great look.
Right. He originally came
classic, professional. Those are all adjectives not to describe Carson Smith.
Yes, originally came over from the Seattle Mariners a couple years ago. I can't even remember which year that was.
Yeah, Wade Miley?
I think so.
Yeah, what a great trade.
It was the Wade Miley trade. Josh A. Smith, this is the righty Josh Smith from last year.
We only have one Josh Smith on our roster this year, so I think that's a step in the right direction.
Right.
It's just for easier.
Yeah, Josh Taylor. He was one of those guys that we were talking about earlier.
Brother of Ben Taylor.
Yes, he was basically one of those guys that got pushed up here from Portland last year when they needed
the mid-October bust.
Yes.
No, not October, August, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
You also have Marcus Walden. He actually may have a chance to actually begin the year in Boston, but again, it's one of those situations where you really don't know what's going on. This is really the first time in a long time we've had so many open spots in the Boston bullpen. So he is one of those guys that's really.
And he can pretty much do anything, and he's willing to do anything, which is why the organization loves him. I mean, 2 years ago, he would start, he would close, he would be a long man out of the bullpen. He did anything that the team asked of him, and that got him an opportunity last year at Boston.
Yes. The last guy that we're going to talk about is Jordan Weems. He's a guy that you can see later in the later innings for the PawSox. Big guy, gets a lot, throws hard, gets a lot of Ks. So yeah.
All right, Ben Wander, what do you think about that, bud? He's not very talkative today. Usually he talks a lot more, but I think the camera, he's a little camera shy.
Yes.
Camera makes you look fatter, something that's sort of throwing him off a little bit.
It does that
so that's the PawSox roster. A lot of it's going to change in the coming weeks. Really, like media nights when you really get the full unveiling of the roster. So on media night will be our next show. I think we really tick it up a notch in terms of having a more official roster, and maybe we'll have a player on. It is the one day stay there, but we're not done yet. We're going to talk about the #1 storyline involving the Pawtucket Red Sox, and that is the fact that they only have 2 seasons left there at McCoy Stadium. And they're moving to Worcester, which was something that came out after last year. There was the push to get them to move to the Apex site, and sort of some stuff fell through. The state of Rhode Island didn't move quick enough, and Pawtucket decided to become the Worcester Red Sox. We actually visited the site of the future home of the Worcester Red Sox. PawSox. We visited that site last week in the Canal District of Worcester, Massachusetts, and really it is a blank slate, Evan. Can you kind of describe what we saw there?
A whole lot of nothing and a whole lot of this is maybe the biggest PIA to get to.
Yes, which is admittedly, like, if you ask the city of Worcester or the Mass DOT, is it a pain to get to the site? And it is, yes, in fact, the Kelly Square intersection is the deadliest, most dangerous intersection from a driving perspective in the entire state of Massachusetts. But it's expected to improve. The DOT is going to redo that whole intersection, so it's going to be easier to get to. There's going to be a more direct route as well that Worcester is doing to build right to the new ballpark site. So they do have a plan in place. So it's admittedly a major problem, an obstacle that they're trying to overcome. There's a ton of money being spent on this.
Right. The issue with the more direct route is there's a lot of buildings in the way. They're going to have to knock down buildings, they're going to have to buy stuff out, and that's going to be an issue. What they're going to have to do, and they're going to have to do it quickly because they're not going to start doing this stuff, I believe, until October.
They won't start the actual roadway until October, the roadway project, but the groundbreaking of the physical stadium in the Canal District is in June. That is phase one. They're going to build a stadium, then across the street, they're going to build hotels, they're going to have restaurants, they're going to have businesses, office space. So they plan to really utilize this minor league ballpark to revitalize an entire district of Worcester.
Right. I mean,
it's a bold plan.
Right, and they're going to actually, even for the ballpark, they are going to have to actually take down a couple of buildings. They're going to have to do a lot of excavating.
They're going to have to remove a street. One thing we noticed on the site itself where the ballpark's going to sit, on that northern end of that lot, right against the train tracks there, is the elevation difference. They're going to have to do a lot of leveling there.
A lot.
We went up to the top and got a photo of the shit. If you go to trifectanetworksports.com, you'll see the photo. It's our cover photo. And we're at the top of the line. You look down, and it is a significant incline there.
It is.
Like a ski slope
do a
almost.
lot of it. But when you look at the other side of the street, they actually do have a lot of room for
There's
a lot of
plenty of space.
There is plenty of space to actually like build up hotels, restaurants, and things like that. So if they're able to do it correctly, I think it will be a beautiful location.
The biggest thing is it costs a lot of money, and that's what I think people get held up on is the cost of the project. But ultimately, if it succeeds, they build a ballpark, people come to the ballpark, the restaurants succeed in that area, then ultimately it's a success. But it's so tough to judge it now because everything like that costs money. If you want to make something nice, it costs money. You want to build a ballpark, it's going to cost you $100 million, right?
Right.
So it's sort of admittedly like, yeah, it costs a lot of money, but it could be a really nice outcome for the city of Worcester. But it's obviously a disappointment. It obviously is a disappointment.
It absolutely would.
That.
But what the biggest thing they need to do is they need to make it accessible from 146 and 290,
which is their plan.
Very hard to get there right now.
Yeah, it's admittedly tough. And obviously, from our perspective, it's disappointing because we're from Rhode Island. We're sitting here with our big friend Ben Mondor right behind us, who kind of revitalized McCoy Stadium and sort of brought people back to the ballpark here in Pawtucket. So it's obviously disappointing that they're moving to Worcester. But I think if you're a citizen in the city of Worcester and you live in that area, it's sort of an exciting time, right? Some real revitalization and sort of expanding that nice downtown area that they sort of built up there over the course of the last couple of years.
Yeah, right. And the issue that one of the questions is going to be is, does the shopping area and the ballpark finish at the same time?
I don't think, from what I understand, it's two phases. Phase one's the ballpark. Phase two is everything else.
Right. So it's going to be a while before everything is going to be the final full project. But after a couple of years, it should be a nice area.
It should be. And I think next 2 years here at McCoy Stadium is going to be a ton of fun, ton of excitement. Maybe some top prospects will roll through. There'll certainly be a lot of promotions. I know there's an A-Rod and J-Lo night coming up that everyone's getting pumped on. That went viral on social media.
It did. And then on top of that, anybody named Jenny is going to be attending games for free.
It's like the quote from Bill Wellness in the press release, all Jennies from the block.
Yes.
Yes,
all Jennies. If you wear a Veritech in a Bronson Arroyo jersey, you get it for free as well.
Yep.
And then on top of that,
because they're celebrating the perfect game from Bronson Arroyo that he threw here at McCoy Stadium, and then the Veritech and A-Rod thing. Obviously, I don't need to explain.
We all know what that was. And then on top of that, the PawSox will also be playing Mariah Carey music for every time that former New England Patriot Tim Tebow was actually going to be taking on that bat.
Yeah. So we will be seeing Tim Tebow here to start the year against the Syracuse Chiefs because he's part of that AAA Mets team. Tebow, a former quarterback, obviously. we're going to see the Buffalo Bisons, which I'm more excited about because we're going to get to see Vladdy Jr. potentially.
Yes, he'll be the second team in here.
If you want to get into debate whether or not he should be here, I think you sort of look at that as, you know, that issue with baseball. They're going to have to redo that, the service time in Major League Baseball. Because Toronto is keeping them down in AAA just until it's enough time to call them up, so then they have them for the extra year. Which every team's playing that game now. I know Chris Bryant's probably one of the most famous outspeakers of that because he was sort of used against that too. That being said, I do have an issue with that rule. I don't know if you do.
I get it. Why a team would do that.
I don't like the rule. I don't like the fact that
you could also be like
if
the
he's
Chicago
ready,
White Sox.
he's ready.
Right.
Yeah, the Chicago White Sox. You actually have to
with,
applaud them.
Yes, they recently signed their top prospect, Elroy Jimenez. He is size-wise, he's Gronk, but plays baseball.
Yeah.
He's going to be a stud for them.
That's a big issue with baseball, though, is your top prospects holding them down. But it's team to team, right? The Red Sox have given Mookie Betts every time he's for arbitration eligible. They've overpaid him from what they actually had to pay him.
Right.
Which is only the right thing to do. Doesn't look like Mookie's taking the bait and signing an extension early, but you know, it's up to the teams. But I think ultimately baseball's gonna have to take a look at that and say, hey, we shouldn't be holding our best players back, especially if they are actually ready for the age.
Right.
We're holding them back just so we can hold them for an extra year at a cheap value. I get it, but it's sort of the issue with baseball right now.
It is.
That's it here from McCoy Stadium. Our friend Ben had a great time. Looks as stoic as ever here at McCoy. It's cold. It's incredibly cold.
Yep. Yeah. So next show is going to be on media night, April 2nd?
Yep, that's the plan. Hopefully it's warmer. I know last media night it was raining, and then the opening night of the season we saw snow.
That was fun.
Yeah, so hopefully we have better weather this year.